What can be said about that which cannot be said? What cannot be known about that which is unknown? What boundary can we put to define that which is boundarylessness itself? In what form can we express it? That which is inexpressible itself, and yet all the forms, all the shapes, all the expressions, all the sayings and unsayings, all the boundaries are it itself. The seeker identity that seems to take on the hero's quest, hero's journey of finding out the goal of the seeking, which is actually a very important phase to figure out and really ask the question that what is the seeker actually seeking? What will complete this quest called the spiritual search or the journey of self-realization? We use these labels, but it becomes important at a point to really inquire into these labels themselves, that what does it really mean to be self-realized? Can the seeker know that it is self-realized now and then can stop seeking? What does it mean to attain enlightenment? What is enlightenment? The big word. And there are many, many, many definitions out there. But what does it really entail to be on this spiritual quest that the seeker seems to be on? This is enlightenment. This already is what is sought after. And saying these words is not a definition of enlightenment. Enlightenment is also, the concept of enlightenment is also within this that is already. And I don't know this. I'm not saying it because I've seen it or I know this. It's just natural this, being this as it is, which you already are. So this one sitting here is not any more special or does not have a special knowledge that you don't have. It's not a knowledge. It's the unknowing. It's the recognition that it cannot be known. It can only be surrendered to. And even that is not an action, neither a decision nor an intention. It already is surrender. Within surrender, the search happens. Within surrender, the resistance happens. And within surrender, the seeming surrender also happens. Or not. It may happen, it may not. Who cares? Who cares? And the one that cares is also within this, as this is already. You as the seeker, as the gainer of the spiritual knowledge, as the one being refined or purified or gaining levels of awareness or consciousness, is already within that. And that is you. And within you, you seek. Within you, all the movement of happiness, sorrow, excitement, frustration, giving up, passion, struggle, success, failure, right, wrong, happens. And all these words are just labels. They're just concepts and interpretations of this, as this is. This in itself is not right or wrong, is not happy or sad. It just purely is itself as it is arising. So I, as this human, as this person, as the seeker, can never know this. That's why the seeking mechanism is catch 22. It's a dead end. And when dead end is fully accepted and the surrender happens, that, well, it cannot be done. That's what the whole spiritual search is about. The eventual recognition that there's no point. There's no point in seeking. There is nothing to seek. And there is no end to seeking. And whether it's inward journey or whether it's outward journey, let's talk about the outward journey. So the seeking of fame, money, approval, love, knowledge, intelligence, the intellectual intelligence. And these days we have many, many other seeking mechanisms. We want to collect clothes and electronics and valuable products and whatnot, play more video games, get better at them. And nothing is wrong with any of that movement. But there may happen a recognition that there is no end to it. I master one video game and the second one is launched or a new level is created. So there is no end. I may earn $1 million, then it's 10 million, then it's 100 million. Where does it end? When does it become enough? I may have one beautiful relationship. Now I want beautiful friends, beautiful colleagues, beautiful employees, all perfect relationships. Where does it end? And looking at the inward journey, the seeking starts at becoming aware of the chaos, the content that is present within oneself in the form of thoughts and emotions and narratives about the circumstance or events that happen in the circumstance. And then the seeking goes further back about healing them or reprogramming them. And then the seeking goes further back that now it needs to be empty. So the state of no thoughts, no emotions. And then you go further back. There is no end to this. And then you may finally come to that thoughtless, empty, formless recognition of yourself. And the boundaries disappear. The seeking disappears. And it is recognized in that very recognition that there is no end to this that is being recognized by itself. And there is no end to anything that appears within it. Everything that is and isn't is within this. This is right here, beyond the concept of here-ness. It's not localized. And yet it can still be pointed towards. Everything that appears within this, outwardly, inwardly, the dissolution of the outward and inward, anything and everything that appears within this is a pointer to this. It is made of this. This is the very stuff that everything that exists or doesn't exist is created from. And if there is an urge or a desire within that wants to know this, it cannot be known. It's not an experience. Experiencing happens within this. Without an experiencer. The biggest fear within our systems happens to be the fear of unknown, which can also be replaced with the label death. So the fear of death, because death is unknown. Nobody knows what happens when this body dies. The very inherent, deep rooted, not as this body comes into existence with the faculty of awareness. So that not happens to be that I need to control, I need to be worthy. Life needs to unfold as it pleases me. It's about me, and I need to live a good life, a happy life, a successful life. Make the most of this life. And as this flowers more and more, the fear of unknown morphs into daily life. When somebody honks at us on the road, when somebody crosses us in a line at a restaurant or in the airport, when someone doesn't smile at us, doesn't greet us, curses us, anything unpleasant, according to me, when happens in the flow of life, that fear of unknown is triggered and manifests as anger or blame or hatred or what may. But really, within the thing that is feared most lies the freedom. The not knowing can be a dreadful experience for the seeker. And when surrendered to, or when fully accepted that that's exactly how life is, I have no clue what's going to happen in the next moment, pleasant or unpleasant. When that is recognized and given into, that the sense of unknowing, the sense of unknown is the very freedom itself. For the seeker, it's like, oh no, if I don't know what to do, then how am I going to live life? And for the end of seeking, that same thing happens. Wow, if nothing is known, then anything is possible. And that's freedom. That's openness, not as an action, not as a characteristic of one's existence, but just a way of being. I am already. I am already freedom. And freedom looks like not knowing anything. It can be scary in the beginning, and yet it is still freedom itself, which is free to be afraid. And one may say that the seeker is looking for freedom. That's a label that is used interchangeably for enlightenment or self-realization. Freedom already is. You are already. All the spiritual practices, in whatever shape and form they are instructed or implemented by a seeker in different phases of the process, the seeming process, do not lead to this. They are, in a way, needed. So the seeker can be tired, can become tired of seeking. And this tiredness leads to dropping the seeking itself. And that is synonymous with the freedom of the unknown. So one may say that there is no spiritual practice needed for this. There is no effort needed to this, for this. And yet, all the efforts, all the practices, all the disciplines are needed if the seeking is happening. So, which discipline to take on if the seeking is still here and needs to do something in order to be satisfied? There is no prescription for this, really. There can only be a description from one's experience of the seeming process that might have happened with them. So, what works for me may not work for you, as each process is unique and may have some overlaps with somebody else's journey or many other journeys, yet it'll still be a unique experience of being tired of seeking. That's really what it is. It's the ultimate heartbreak for me as the seeker. It's not a celebration. It does come like, oh no, there is a dead end right here. And then I take on another route and a dead end there. And so on and so on. So all the dead ends within the endless. anything, any action, any concentration on an object, anything, any activity that brings you here within this moment beyond the sense of time. So when the awareness, the attention is really just here on whatever the activity or the thought or the arising may be, whatever brings you here and facilitates the forgetting or letting go of the hold of the past and the future and the present that is outside of this, that the attention is put on, can be a spiritual practice. So whether I have my eyes closed and meditating on the heart center or on the third eye center, or meditating on a thought, chanting a mantra, or whether it's gardening or dancing or singing or lying down doing nothing, listening to a YouTube video, a satsang, kirtan, whatever facilitates you forgetting yourself and everything that comes and goes with that yourself is the spiritual practice in the moment. And as you forget yourself, well, there's the paradox again. Who forgets who? And yet, as you forget yourself, there is you, the unknown, the freedom. And as this is recognized by itself, the you as the person doesn't need to fall away. And yet, this person is then consciously lived from this unbroken connection with its source that you are. And you, as this person, doesn't need to remember this all the time. I don't need to remember to breathe all the time. The breathing still happens, even in my sleep. If I were to remember that I need to breathe every time, there is nothing else that I could do other than breathing. I don't need to remember my name all the time. And yet, even when I'm asleep, somebody shouts out my name. and something wakes up and was like, yeah, what's up? So I, as this person, if I'm seeking for a unbroken remembrance of my source, why? That's just another movement of seeking something that doesn't need to be sought. I, as this person, exist seemingly because I, as the source, is there, identified with the sense of person. So I, as this person, if I'm seeking to know this, to experience this, to remember this all the time, that's another dead end. And this movement needs to happen for a while. Until it is recognized that it's not necessary to have a continuous, unbroken oneness experience or an out of body experience or the person appearing within me as that formless awareness kind of experience. They're all pleasant. They're all yummy in a way that they contribute to detaching and loosening up the content itself or the clinginess of the person or that deep-rooted knot of life not being okay or me not being okay. Those experiences work beautifully to open up those mechanisms. And yet, they're not necessary. They're not necessary for you to be who you are already. They're not necessary for life to be what it is already. And when it is not necessary, not required for life to be any different, for me to be any different, for other to be any different, that is the freedom from which an evolution is possible. And that's the paradox again. That how do I do something or how do I make something better when I have surrendered, when I've given up the need for it to change? Well, it's a beautiful experiment. It'll be wonderful to try that if it's available. The effort that comes from the effortlessness, which is the fruit of everything being okay as it is. That effort really flowers in the form of service, in the form of love, unconditionally, for myself and for everything else included. or involved within that effort. It is free of attachment to require for it to bear fruit or a certain fruit. It's like blowing bubbles with that stick that has soap water in it, and then you take it out and you blow bubbles. And it's not out of attachment. Yes, there might be a little interest in, yes, I want a big bubble, or I want these many bubbles. And yet the bubbles are free to form as they do. They are free to rise up or drop down on the ground and pop. And they're free to have their own journey of traveling in the air and people blowing air on them and changing their route. And then the two bubbles joining themselves and making a bigger one, or just touching each other and popping. It's all just that innocent. Right here in this moment, which is not in time. This moment is not within the movement of the concept of time as we know it, but right here, right now. This freedom, this unknowing, this unknown is available. It's the one speaking, it's the one listening, it's the one interpreting it, it's the one getting bored or just feeling like, why don't I get it? It's already here as all of this. And then a question may arise. It's like, if it's here, if there's no distance, if this is already what I am, then why don't I experience it? How to experience it? And it is when this question dissolves, or the clinging to this question dissolves, or the frustration that arises from not being able to experience it, when that frustration or helplessness or hopelessness is fully allowed and not fought with, when there is this ability to really allow whatever appears within my experience, is when this very recognition that I am trying to experience from the get-go may happen. Or not. And it's okay. The one who has had that recognition and the one who hasn't had that recognition, it's really no difference. Everything is already that, with or without recognition. So the quest to know this, the quest to experience it, the quest to remain one with this as a conscious experience, is in itself the misunderstanding that leads to suffering and more seeking. And that is what veils this more and more seeking, because it is in the end of seeking, seeking falling away, that it shines through. And yet, all the seeking is already happening within this. Because even the quest of trying for the seeking to fall away is also a dead end. So, in a way, we can say enlightenment is the end of quest, end of seeking, which can be translated as Buddha labeled it, end of suffering. And if there is seeking going on, then not entertaining a secondary movement of trying to change that seeking. So then seeking, the end of seeking, is another form of seeking. And that's actually more seeking than just the presence of seeking. So I think I'm trying to solve the problem, but I'm actually adding to it. And even just saying all of this and labeling seeking as a problem, it still is just a happening within that which you already are. So it may seem like, and it definitely feels like it's a problem and it needs to be solved. And yet it's just an innocent bubble being blown out of that soap stick thingy. And yes, it can be painful, or it can be blissful at times. All of those qualities that happen as a fruit of continuous seeking or momentary falling away of seeking are all just arisings within that which is already free, which is already beyond seeking. This is this just is. It is nameless, and yet all the names and labels are its name. What is it? There's no answer to that. It is unknown. It is unknowable. And yet, and yet, it is undeniably here, unlocalized. So, as I say almost in every satsang, there is no goal. There is no goal to seeking, to searching, to being spiritual or denying spirituality, to believing in God or denying the existence of God. There is no goal to any of it. And if there is something within the system that really is agitated by that, then maybe a little sugar candy for that agitation might be that if there is any goal to any of this, is to really just be tired of believing or not believing or accepting or denying or following or not following, of attaching or detaching, just being fully, hopelessly tired of all of it. That's when this may shine within that tiredness. And as it shines, it is clearly recognized that it has never been not shining. So it's not that when the seeking was going on, it was hidden or stuck or turned off. Everything already is happening within what is being sought after. So really, it seems like I spoke for an hour about this, but really nothing can be said about this. And yet we can take different detours and explore different avenues. But really, there is no point. There is no path. And there is no goal. All there is this. This is. This is the you-ness within you, the I-ness within me, and the isness within everything that appears to be. Do you see? As you see, just be. And it's not a prescription. It is not coming from someone who knows, instructing someone who doesn't know. It's just a play of words going on, which probably don't even mean anything. Or they do. That's the paradox. The paradox is the label given to something that cannot be known, that cannot be defined, that cannot be put into a box saying, okay, this is what it is. So when that's not possible, we call it a paradox. And that is what freedom is. Freedom is box free. It cannot be put into any shape or form or concept. And yet all those shapes and forms and concepts and boxes come freely. Including the me, including the you, including someone who even claims that they know it all. Everything is allowed. That's how free freedom is. As I open the space for any comments or questions or just greetings, I want to remind again that anything that was said here probably was all a lie. So there's nothing to take with yourself. There was nothing important going on here. It was just playing, happening with itself. And yet, we are free to put any interpretation to this playing going on. And it's fully valid and allowed. So feel free to raise your electronic hands if you like, and I'll unmute you. Then we can have a chat. Cheryl.
Howdy.
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Yeah, really good. I don't know how to raise my electronic hand. So
Your physical hand is
there,
just.
there were many things that that I enjoyed hearing with your words. I wrote some of them down, so I'm going to reference to them. I, as the source, is identifying as this person or body. It's brilliant. The smile on the face I see on the screen is shining this through. If you can understand that. This is shining through your smile. Um, Many shared giggles throughout this satsang. Because it's all just fun. And being able to share that in a way such as satsang is important. I beg to differ with you that what went on here is not important. It is part of all that you're saying, all that is, all that happens, the unfolding, your part in that, bringing this to us is important. I'm not meaning to correct you. That's how I feel. And when you started talking about freedom and the freedom of is not being afraid of the unknown. Um, and another way you put it was free to be afraid. What a yeah. It's so true and pure. Yeah, exactly. Once um, oh, I think there's one more here. And you just simply stated you you are already. Yeah. Thank you for sharing this time.
It's a pleasure, Cheryl, and thank you for asserting those messages again in your way. And my smile is shining as this, and so are your eyes, and so is everything that happens behind the cameras with everybody. So it's just such a pleasure and an honor to see that whatever is being shared is resonating. That's definitely an honor.
So be it.
Cheryl wants to say something again. Can you nod if that's the case? Okay, there we go.
There, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to encourage everyone to give themselves a pat on the back for where they are in this and for this being where they are. Pat on the back.
Wonderful.
Hi, Kulin.
Hello, Sudhir. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Good.
Actually, I have a question like if we do not have thoughts for some time, there is a peace, right? We experience peace for some time.
Mhm.
Is it is it that like is it is it the peace that we are looking for?
That's a great question. When that peace is being experienced by whatever you refer to yourself as in that experiencing of peace, are you looking for anything else in that moment?
There is nothing actually. It's just peace. That's all.
So there is no seeking movement to be recognized in that piecing in.
No, no.
Yeah. So that can be called as the fruit of seeking falling away. So in a way, we can say that what we're looking for is end of seeking, or the fruit of end of seeking is that peace that you experience, or that is experienced more accurately.
Okay. But my question is, I do not see this as you said just few minutes back. Like I do not see this in everything that is
Mhm.
around me. Or
So in a way, do I hear you say that the thoughts come back and the peace subsides and it disappears again?
peace is still there. Peace is there.
So then, can you repeat your question again?
Uh, as you said, the peace is it actually,
Mhm.
and means I do not see this in everything around me. Means I do not experience this in everything. Like I'll say that we see that peace in everything, means every object or every tree or environment around us.
Mhm.
There is no boundaries. Inside me, I can understand that the peace do not have any boundaries.
Mhm.
But outside of me, I do not see that.
That's okay. First of all, I don't think that's a problem. Just the appearance or grounding of peace within what you are calling yourself as this body mind organism is already um, rare, I would say. So, as Cheryl said, pat on the back for that, just for that experience to have unfolded for you. And if it is something that is included within Sudhir's flow of life, this grounding of peace or experience of peace within Sudhir may flower or extend outside of Sudhir. And this can also look like, because in your question, even last week and this week, I hear a sense of wanting to be experiencing a oneness with everything around you.
Yes,
And
yes.
yes, and that oneness is not what we think it is. So the sense of oneness or the experiencing of no separation with everything is not physical. Like it doesn't mean that this computer screen is the same as this hand. It's not. And yet this hand and the screen is appearing within the piece that you are experiencing. And
Okay.
and it may be easier to experience that with a non-sentient object than a human being, for example, which is moving and has opinions and which may not align with me in the beginning. And so that oneness or that peace that you're labeling may be experienced with everything as the flow of life allows that peace to grow deeper And maybe next week you tell me that you're experiencing peace with everything or not. But just the glimpse of the peace is proof enough that there is nothing to seek but the peace itself, which is the fragrance of the end of seeking.
Okay. Thanks. Cool.
You're welcome. And one thing I want to add also to that, Sudhir, that the movement that feels that the peace with everything else is not available experientially may also give rise to a seeking movement, which is absence of peace. So that may be the very reason that the peace is not experienced with everything around you, because it is being sought after. So if that seeking movement can be identified within the Sudhirness that wants to feel peace with everything, maybe that's the catch.
Hi, Kurli. This is Ranjan.
Hi, Ranjan. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good. So actually, I'm sitting in Bangalore.
Oh, great.
Yeah. My question is, as an awareness, I understand that, yes, it is peace, joy, or you cannot express or you cannot define anything as an awareness. But as a state of mind or state of body, when comes like state of brain, I can call it as brain, that the same peace or same joy doesn't resonate within this organism. I can say that. So, what is the? Uh, I mean, the activity of the brain, how it changes um, in in line with this awareness or in line with the universe functioning. Means, I mean, in line with peace, harmony, I can say that.
So when I am awareness itself, there is peace. And when I am Ranjan, there is no peace. Is that your question?
Yeah, we can phrase it like that. Yes. So Ranjan is the problem, actually.
Ranjan is not the problem.
Yeah.
The greed of after peace, I want more peace. I want peace as Ranjan also is the problem. The wanting is the problem. Ranjan is not the problem.
Correct.
Can I
wanting,
be okay with wanting more peace, essentially?
Yeah. But this wanting, yeah, how this movement happens means, are we somewhat psychologically we are conditioned to think like that or to act like that? Because I can see there is some patterns which are heavily conditioned the brain. That's why this things goes on repeating sometimes, which you don't have any. Yeah, of course, we don't have any control over it on that. The whole problem lies in this conditioning. At the same time, the paradox is he cannot also do anything with that. Is that keeping quiet will end all these patterns over the period as a gradual process, or is it sudden realization that you can't do anything and that will automatically change this condition of the brain?
You articulated it really well. And of course, we are conditioned as human organisms from the get-go to survive, whatever that translates into in one's own experience based on where they were born, what family system, financial system, ecological system, political system, educational system we came from. So it is a unique set of programs that were fed within this body-mind organism, which were taken on as tools to survive or tools to protect oneself, whatever that meant in that environment. And yes, at a point, especially when this seeking process starts, these mechanisms and these tools are seen for the functionality of them or the dysfunctionality that they hold in themselves. And as we are aware of ourselves as the awareness itself, you already said very accurately so that these patterns show up again and again. And the very awareness of these patterns will inevitably weaken them. So it can be a sudden movement, it can be a gradual process, they can remain or they can dissolve, but the need for them to dissolve can dissolve. And that already is the peace that Ranjan is looking for in the experience of being Ranjan, the person. So the patterns may remain, and yet the need for the patterns to dissolve, for Ranjan to be at peace, can fall away. And that is the piece that Ranjan is missing in his question.
Yeah. It's a little paradox.
So they can definitely
be the same point. Yeah.
And yet my peace doesn't depend on it.
Yes. Because I see the survival need. Yes, we habituated in this way of living or earning food, shelter, or in this way. But when you have everything, like when you have food, shelter, clothes, but after that, still this pattern still continues. So wanting more, finding fulfillment in this. Unknowingly, we go on this journey, like trying to fulfill things, like buying things or achieving. So that was the heavy conditioning, which, because in the society when we are living, when we look at our friends, family, now we can see that there is a lot of so-called spiritual movement. We can see that, but when you closely observe, it's still, our parents doesn't resonate in the same way that we always want to have more things, achievement. And also there is a kind of this concept, which in India is a well-known concept of reincarnation, that is very deep-rooted. Means if you are going for this kind of a journey or anything, spiritual or anything, it seems to like certain things are not going well in his life, so that he's on this journey. And many people are happily accepted this concept of reincarnation, that okay, this life I do these things, and next life will do some things. This is what regular conversations you can see that. Yeah, for me, this life God has blessed this many things, so I continue the journey, and the next life. So these are the lot of things, thought process or thinking process, which goes on. But this all just being aware, this patterns loses its vitality. That's what you said, right? As just being aware of this, these patterns will not have any importance, or which will not disturb peace or anything.
Well, in a way, yes. And yet, the need for them to lose their vitality, for me to be okay, or for me to be at peace, is what actually is one. Is that what one needs to be aware of? So these concepts can play and can still remain vital, and can remain of the same weightage in the system, although inevitably they do lose their grip as the truth in themselves, and they become the concept for what they are. So they can still remain as concepts, and yet I am not depending on reincarnating to be okay, or I am not depending on dissolving my belief in reincarnation to be okay. So I already am that which I'm seeking for after the dissolution of these patterns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is like the first step and the last step. Like
To the step left.
so there is no step that. That's right. So thanks a lot, Gurlin, for this satsang. Uh, yeah, I don't know what to say.
It's a pleasure, Ranjan. Thank you for dropping in. Nothing to gain, nothing to lose, nothing to be, nothing to let go, nothing to learn, nothing to unlearn, just as it is, just as you are, including all the goods and bads and the weirds. Thank you so much for joining in. I'll see you guys next Sunday, same time,